Welcome students, we are going to learn today about the cultural contributions under the Gupta Harsha period. The study of the cultural contributions would enable to understand the development under the Gupta rule. The encouragement that was given to the arts and literature had reached its climax as the period takes pride in welcoming the travellers from not alone China but also from other foreign countries. Classic texts, kavyas, poems were composed during the rule of Gupta dynasty. The period of Gupta court extends from circa 320 to 467 CE. It was founded by Chandragupta Maurya in circa 320 CE in Bihar. The empire reached its zenith in the reign of Samudragupta circa 375 to 76. The Chinese pilgrims who had visited was Fahian. Hunsang came in 630 AD to study Buddhism. 9 gems were supported in the court and Aryabhat calculated the solar system and invented zeros and ones. Kalidas was the court poet here and Vatsayan's Kam Sutra, a treatise on sexual pleasure, was written. Indian idols of beauty received their canonical expression in literature and subsequently influenced the visual arts. During the Gupta period, the Buddha icon became a synthesis of Gandhara and Mathura styles. It is noted by perfect oval face, serene smile, dreamy lotus eyes, elongated ears, ascetic hair, slim body and clinging light robe and elegantly carved halo. Hindu temples were products of invention and experiment, where the master sculptors were well versed in different arts, Vastu Shastra and Shilp Shastra. The Gupta period stood at the intersection of two traditions, the maturity of Buddhist arts and the genesis of the Hindu temple. Chandragupta II died in AD 401-5 and he was succeeded by Kumaragupta and later Sikandragupta. Harsha ruled from around circa 606 to 447 CE. He was the last Hindu emperor who maintained semblance of unity till the end of his lifetime. Harsha was 16 years old when he came to power. He had entertained the idea of retiring to a Buddhist monastery, but his brother's murder called him to take charge. He made Kannauj his capital. With the combined forces of Kannauj and Thaneshar, he completed his Digvijay, dating from accession in 606 AD. For the significance, let's see students how Chandragupta Maurya established himself as the master of the Ganges valley. His capital was the ancient city of Patliputra, the modern Patna. He was succeeded by his son Samudragupta in AD 330. Samudragupta was an accomplished and a versatile ruler. He studied music and literature besides spreading the boundary of his empire. Fahian's accounts reveal that the kingdom under the Gupta AD 401 to 411 was highly prosperous and it was a well-governed country. The nobles and the householders had founded hospitals within the city to which the poor and destitute could go and get healing. When cured, they could depart at their convenience. The chief ministers had fixed salaries like the other officials. The people did not make use of any intoxication and killing animals for food was unknown. The Chandalas and the Pariyas ate garlic or onions. The monks and mendicants were provided for the food, clothing and shelter. The offerings were made to priests in order to accrue merits. Universities for secular and religious studies flourished at Nalanda and other centers of learning. Medical sciences was widely studied and Sanskrit medical treatises were the basis of much of the later Arabian learning. In mathematics, the theorem of Pythagoras was understood. In imaginative literature, the chief developments were the kavyas, which were in prose as well as verse drama, lyric, poetry or prose romances and fables. Kalidas was equally eminent as a lyric, poet and dramatist. His chief poems are the Raghuvamsham or the story of the race of Raghu. The Kumar Sambhav or the birth of war god Kumar, Ritu Samhar or the cycle of the seasons, Meghdutam or the cloud messenger, and Shakuntalam, Abhinyan Shakuntalam, that relates the interesting story of King Dushyant and his promise to Shakuntala. Poet Bhartrhari, the Sringar Satak or Century of Love, is full of charming but cynical epigrams. Dandin's Dasakumar Charita or the adventures of the 10 princes and Bana's Harsha Charita and Kadambari bespeak the period of rich patronage by the Gupta Empire to the poets, writers, literature and aesthetic development of the mind. Panchtantra and the Hitopadesh or Book of Wise Counsel too had been written during this period, and Bhavabhuti's Madhav and Malati and Ramcharita or the story of Ram was also written during this time. The work on dramatic criticism too was conducted during this time. Bharata's Natyashastra or the treatise on drama, Jayadev's Geet Govindam or the Song of the Cowherd is an example of the lyrical drama. One of the earliest of the classical dramas, Sudrak's Mrichikatikam or the toy cart, gives us a vivid glimpse into the social life of an Indian city in the 5th century AD. It's a story with Vasant Sena and Charudatta, the two characters of the play, and the kind of difficulties they face as the play proceeds. Visakha Datta's Mudra Rakshasa or Seal of the Minister is a historical play of how Chanakya overthrew the last of Nanda kings of Patliputra. Harsha promoted the temples, monasteries and museums in the town. His empire extended from the mouth of the Ganges, the Satluj, and included Malwa, Gujarat and Kathiawar regions. Harsha took the title of 5 Indies, the Punjab, Kannauj, Bengal, Mithila and Odisha. The characteristic features of the cultural contribution students, let's see how they influence the mind of the person. The sources of the imperial Gupta history are of 4 classes: literary works, inscriptions, coins and monuments. The literary work includes the Puran, the play called Kaumudi, Mahot Atsav, Devi Chandraguptam, composed by Visakha Datta, Bana's Harsha Charita, Mahayan Buddhist Chronicle, Arya Manjushri, Mulka Kalpa. The inscriptions are incised on stone and metals, as in the case of copper plates or pillars. Example, the Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta or the Mandasore pillar inscription of Yashodha Varman. The coins, the Gupta coins, throw light on the both general and numismatic history. They present a wide variety of types shown in their legends, symbols, standard or weight and fabric. Monuments is a source of both artistic and religious history. These schools are distinguished as Mathura, Varanasi, Nalanda, etc. The political conditions of the state were strong and warlike in spite of their despotic contributions, and were neither enervated by luxury nor enfeebled by want of martial exercise. The civil administration was well governed and the subjects were happy. The source of law was Shruti and Smriti. Their duty was to administer justice according to divinely ordained law and to keep peace and order by punishing the robbers and other evildoers. They were to receive taxes from the produce of land, trade, handicrafts for performing this service. The appellation of the country was Janapad or people, showing the changed conditions of kingdoms which no longer consisted of homogeneous people bearing particular names. Vishya consisted of a number of villages or gram. The gram or the village formed the backbone of the country, and his administration had fixed sites and boundaries. All the cases pertaining to the civil and criminal cases were dealt here. Land measurements were to take place. Army, nobles, courts, etc. were taken care of. the king had an anointed wife and several other queens under him. The king was theoretically and usually practically also the leader of the armies on the battlefield and the dispenser of justice at home. The Samritis direct the king to divide his time for convenience of business into three proportions: dispensation of justice, the looking after of the administration, and recreation and pleasure, which he followed scrupulously. Harsha was a just and able ruler. He was known for his charities. Within his empire, he had set up hospitals, provided food, drinks, medicines, etc. The slaughter of the animals was forbidden. Equal reverence was paid to the gods and deities like Shiv, Surya and Buddha. He was an indefatigable worker where he devoted a whole part of the day to the affairs of the state and the remainder to the religious works and exercises. According to Fahian, the important traveller during the time of the court, the efficiency of the Gupta administration was demonstrated by the material and moral progress of the people in AD 399 to 414. It notes that since the time of Buddha, the kings, the elders and gentry built shrines and grave land, which was also houses, gardens with men and bullock for cultivation. Rooms with beds and mattresses, food and clothes were provided for the resident and travellers. The moral progress and the public spirit of the people are shown in their liberal endowments of religious and educational institutions. Homes of charity, where shelter with bed and food was offered to the traveller, were noticed by Fahian. Dharamshalas were opened to all without distinction of caste and creed. Free hospitals were known too to help the poor. Helpless patients, widowers and cripples also came in the hospital. The sale of the land was to be made to the private persons only if the land was devoid of vegetation or it was incapable of yielding revenue, no financial loss was incurred, some kind of material gain and gain in the shape of dharma or the sale of which will not affect the cultivable land was made. The accounts of Hyun-sang, the Chinese traveller, speaks about how the butchers, fishers, dancers, executioners and scavengers etc. lived away from the main city. The walls are covered with lime or mud and mixed with cow dung for purity. The caste system was in operation. Brahmins were engaged in religious duties. The Kshatriyas were the hereditary governing class. The Vaishyas were the tradesmen and the Shudras to perform agriculture and menial work. There is no infliction of corporal punishment. When the rulers of morality are broken, the limb that is accused is cut. As the administration of the government is founded on benign principles, the executive is simple. The people are not subject to forced labor. The amount in the treasury was divided into 4 parts. First for carrying out the affairs of the state, the second for paying the ministers, the third for rewarding the men of genius, and the fourth for giving alms to the religious community. The military was to guard the frontiers and put down in disturbances. Hyun-sang was struck by the prosperity of the country. The standard of living was high. Payment was made in kind, but gold and silver coins were in circulation and cowrie shells and pearls were also used for the purpose. The soil was fertile and highly cultivated and a large number of fruits and vegetables were grown. The education system was extensive and it took about 25 to 30 years of life to complete the process. A number of disinterested men of wealth and position devoted their entire life to lifelong study. The pursuit of pleasure belongs to the worldly life, the pursuit of knowledge to the religious life. The regular curriculum consisted of grammar, mechanics, medicine, logic and metaphysics. The juniors and seniors admonished each other and through a dialogue mutually helped each other to perfection. The Mahayana doctrine was discussed in Harsha's court. His widowed sister too participated in the discussion. The position of women was of amicable standards, as is proven by Harsha's sister's participation in the discussion. A great public assembly was called at Kannauj. Hyun-sang delivered his discourse. Hyun-sang won great honors because of his presentation and knowledge he had executed. But there was secretly jealousy among the Brahmins who felt the king favor upon the Buddhist monks. Several gifts, money, token, pearls, perfumes, etc. were bestowed upon the learned. Upon his departure, Hyun-sang took with him numerous relics and images of Buddha. Buddhist images in gold, silver, crystal and sandalwood were also known. The traveller had described Harsha as man of eminent wisdom. His skill in literature was profound. He deeply respected the three Ratna, Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Literature in India had always been dependent upon court patronage, and the rise of the Guptas was accomplished by great activity in many fields. The religious conditions, complete tolerance of religions like Hindus, Jains, Buddhists were known. The different religions lived in peace with one another. Even in a family, there was known to have the father professing a particular religion and the son practicing yet another religion of his choice. And the concept of pravrajya, or giving up the world and ceasing to act, was known. There was a belief that the world is full of misery and the soul was bound in the chain of transmigration from body to body. Each is to be paid according to his karma, was the common understanding. The doctrine of ahimsa was acceptable to all schools. The epics and the Puranas were rearranged in their present form. Mahabharata, which was originally a secular poem describing the fate of the Kurus at the hands of the Pandavas, was reorganized. The Dharma, Shastras or textbooks embodying the teaching of the Brahmanical schools or the rules of the caste were compiled from the earliest sutras. The laws of the books of Yajna, Valkya, Narada and most famous of all, the Manav Dharma Shastra or the laws of Manu probably belong to the Gupta period. The art of the Gupta period reflects upon the religious and social practices and following of the common people. Puranas' descriptions of Vishnu Bhagwan's 10 incarnations, 1. Matsya, fish, Kurm, the tortoise, Varha, the boar, Vaman, dwarf, Narsimha, Parshuram, Ram, Krishna, Buddha and Kalki, yet to appear, reflect the beliefs of common people. Their dress adorning the images reveal the economic condition of the people in general in order to adorn their gods and goddesses lavishly as shown here. The churning of the ocean is another scene where the gods and the demons are churning the sea of milk to produce 14 objects for the benefit of the humanity. The Kurm provides its back for the axis to rotate and help the churning process. Krishna playing on the flute, the Lingam, the Vishnu with Brahma and Lakshmi, or Vishnu Anantasaya panel where Vishnu as the cosmic boar etc. are also seen. They reveal the religious beliefs of the people. The four orders of hereditary caste distinctions are Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras were known from the Harsha Charita by Bana. The artistic renderings too reveal the social conditions, highlighting the dress, ornaments, customs and manners. Men seem to wind a strip around the waist and to the armpits, leaving the right shoulder bare. Women wear a long robe which covers both her shoulders. The hair on the head of the crown is made into a coil and the rest of the hair hanging down. Some of the males wear moustaches. Garlands too adorn the body. The clothes known were Shoma, that is silk, Badura, cotton, Dakula, the linen, the Lalat Tantuja, Ansuka, Naita, cloths glistening like the serpent's skin, and the colors in use were that of a rainbow. Buddhist monks and nuns wore simple clothes. The jewelry consisted of tiaras and garlands, strewn with precious stones, bracelets, necklaces, kundalas, kayuras and armlets were well known. Most of the women used to move around barefoot. According to the accounts of the travelers, no child marriages were heard of, and the possibilities of remarriage were also not known. The coins of silver and gold reveal several motifs like the archer, swordsman, ashwamegh, horseman, lion, slayer, tiger slayer, peacock, elephant riders, etc. shed a light on the life of the people. Sculptures and structures too reveal the religious following and social economic prosperity during the Gupta period. In conclusion, let's learn, students, here the Gupta period is known for the richness of art, architecture, literature, tolerance of religious followings. Harsha particularly was responsible for not only spreading of the empire far and wide, but also for the overall development. Harsha organized the first assembly where the intellectuals could come together at a platform and discussed openly about their learning. Harsha was one of the greatest rulers that India has produced. He was benevolent to the extent that he gave away everything from his treasure and in the end also what he had on person. He had to borrow clothes from his sister to get back to his empire. Kalhan, the historian of Kashmir, says, endowed with rare talents and famous for his good government and piety, he fell under the influence of evil counsellors and was assassinated by his troops. Harsha, though, set an example of good governance. Thank you, students.